So this next question, this is definitely a hot topic around here in Humboldt where we're talking today. But in this time of transition, folks are getting their licenses, and so they're going full on adult use rec. But there are other people who either haven't gotten their licenses yet, or they're still getting their action together to apply for their license. And what we're noticing is that some of those people who have grabbed the brass ring and they've got their license, they're starting to turn in and snitch on the other people who are in the scene and have not gotten their license yet. And you're known as you're old school heritage OG grower, but also you're a community builder, right? And so what do you feel about what's going on with people throwing other people under the bus simply because they haven't gotten their license yet, but at the same time, a lot of them aren't supposed to be growing yet. So it's a challenging conflict.
It's a concept of we talked about earlier, scarcity and abundance. And what you're seeing people who are basically snitching. They're not from our culture. They're the new wave of people that come in, and they're doing normal business, and to them normal business is to snuff out the black market around you because those are competitors. Therefore they cut into your margin, and you have shareholders, you have investors that need to be paid, and that's how you see it. It's very impersonal, it's very professional, it's true business in the way we know it in American capitalism. And the problem is that so many of us that are in cannabis really were in a different kind of business. You were in a communal business where you all basically shared resources. If you needed product, you could buy from each other. You helped each other out. You basically created each other's little safety and security blanket, and part of
you shared the risk too.
You shared the risk too, and you also made sure that you weren't looking over your neighbor's fence trying to rat him out for what he did because you didn't want him to rat you out. So you worked on this. We kind of need each other, and we also would prefer if we didn't cause each other problems. And what you're really seeing is, I think that the majority of people that are going after with the customer, complaint-driven response. So you contact the Sheriff's Department, you contact the BCC and say, look, this is some unethical operators that are doing this stuff. That's primarily all the new people. And because they don't have a connection to the old game, they don't have an emotional situation that precludes them from making these decisions, and it's chewing up all these people that are trying to move forward, but they're slowed down because they lack the capital and they lack so many of the little pieces needed to move expeditiously. And so for me, I don't look at it as we're really enemies. I never have. And I think that people don't understand the level of competitor that's coming, and that if you looked at your neighbor and thought that he was stealing profit from you, you should take a good look down the road, and when Nabisco comes in and they're going to steal all of it from you.
Yeah.
And if you could not rat your neighbor out, you might find that they were a valuable asset to help you when you had problems, that you were somebody that you could share genetic ideas with, that you could work with creativity, you could work with how do we function and utilize each other's skill sets. And I think that in our area, Humboldt County, other counties like Humboldt, the communities like Humboldt, where it was so much more group related, it's the way we've learned how to function and survive, and it's the way we need to continue. So I would discourage people from snitching on their neighbors and let the system do the job. And ratting doesn't help anybody in the long term. All it does is removes all the smart people around you, except you're really not that big either if you have the time to get on the phone and rat out your neighbor. So if you're not busy enough on your job and you have time to snitch, you might want to go back to working on your job and find where your missing profit is, because your neighbor's not stealing it.
Cool, thanks. Right on. Great.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. I just had a friend in Temecula hit me up, and a neighbor ratted him out. He got a misdemeanor charge for it because he had excess plants. But same thing.
It didn't have to happen.
No, it did not have to happen. This is hate and discontent, and it's not necessary. And it's people saying because they're encouraging the hotlines. They have the hotlines where you can call, and they no repercussions if it's a bad tip. It's just
such police state shit,
yes,
man.
yes, and it's just not a good way to cultivate relationships with people. And I don't ever agree with it, because fundamentally people are trying to support their children just like you. And if you were snitching, to me, is if your neighbor is kidnapping children and women and putting them in the basement, that's not snitching. That's community service. Because they're going to get your children next, or they're going to get your neighbor's children next, or that might be your wife in the basement. That's different. That's just called protecting yourself from sociopaths in life. Right. Communities always did that. But not when someone's working on something and you're like, I had to do all this, because it's anger. It's anger driven. I had to do all this, and how dare you not? and I want to punish you because I feel punished. And to me, that is just you're not even in cannabis anymore. You're so far off of the cannabis concept, it's not funny.
You might as well be selling anything.
You are not in cannabis, you're in commoditized business. And so to me, once you do that, you're no longer in the world I'm from. But the problem is, they're definitely here, and they are definitely using the phones.
Yeah. Right on.